Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the After Hours podcast. I'm joined by Faceless Scooter and Jake Not Sucky. Just kidding. Was that cringy?
It was
No,
very cringy.
not at all.
Okay.
We love it. We love everything.
Mm.
But yeah, camera's still gone, so we're gonna have to find some workarounds for the next steps. I'm gonna literally use like a budget webcam next week.
Yeah, just do the
Just
really
tape
bad
your
good
phone
one.
to your monitor.
There you go.
You'll be
Actually, that
fine.
might not be bad.
That might work. Look at you. It's that Indiana education right there. He knows how to. He knows how to rig it. He's
We
good.
can we can read up to an 8th grade level here. So
Mm.
it's
Big
got
brain
Georgia
enough.
beat. It's got Georgia beat.
Actually, no one can beat Georgia. They're number one in the AP poll right now, so they know how to play football.
Can you spell
Well-
AP?
All right, we're a little off track already. You know, typical podcast fashion, but you know. So yeah, not a whole lot for the R6. We were gonna do some R6 updates, but obviously it's a bit of a small, tiny player break right now. So we're kind of just chilling. But a lot happened in the RL world. So I mean, that's obviously not my forte. So Noobsie, Jake, take it away.
Yeah, so our boys played last weekend and they started off the day really well. Won their first series. Then they went up on stream, yes, on the main RLCS Sam stream. And then their following match against Crew Esports, they set the Sam record for longest Rocket League game in RLCS. What was the official time, Noobsy?
It was the 5 standard minutes plus a 9-minute and 43-second overtime, which is ridiculous for people
And-
who have
Yeah.
played.
So that's
Rocket League.
essentially 3 whole games in one. But the kicker is they didn't score any goals in regulation either.
So it never
it was
stopped.
it was 1-0 after over 14 minutes of play, which sounds boring, but it was electric because it was just
Well-
killer defense from both ends, and it was
And then
just
not
high.
even just that. The number one longest game in RLCS for Sam. It was the 12th longest in history. Since they've been keeping track of that stat, it is the 12th longest game. Now there was one that went like 22 minutes, that was number 1. But like to imagine the people that play Rocket League, they know that 15 straight minutes of playing the highest level of Rocket League is so daunting mentally. And for the people that don't know, it is literally, you feel mentally drained after a game like
It's
that.
just hyper focus for 15
It's-
minutes.
Straight minutes. You cannot stop. The only time they stopped was when the ball touched the ground and they have that 5-second delay to get into overtime. It's the only break they had, and that's not long enough to decompress and all right, let's get back into this. They just got to keep going. So
And unfortunately, they did not win that game, and then they ended up losing that series. Didn't close out the day that they wanted, but remove. Will be better on the next one. They play again this Sunday, a closed qualifier to get back into the main event next week. So we'll be cheering on our boys for that. We know that they got it in them. We're excited to watch.
finishing out those final 8 spots. So top 8 from last week moved into the top 8 of this main event. So then this is just for the final 8 or 9 to 16 teams. So gonna be a lot of fun. Seeger, Tank, back on the casts. So we're gonna be on the Parabellum Twitch channel, PBLM Esports. We're gonna be there. What was the time? 3 p.m. EST,
Yeah, 3 p.m. Eastern.
4 p.m. Burt.
And
So-
then noon PDT.
No one
Yep.
cares about that.
I will say I said it last week in the last episode, and I'm gonna say it again this week. The games that were going on, dude, if you're actually watching, and people who have watched the podcast several times, I'm not a Rocket League person, not even the slightest. But oh my god, were those games on? Like the 12th
They're a good
longest
fucking
game.
team.
I was edge of my seat, and it was so fun to watch. Like, I don't know, there's just something about games that are at that kind of level of like play, and also the what's on the line. It's so fun to watch.
Every game, like with the way that they restructured the point system this season, every series matters. Like I mean, the point system isn't as flated, but I think some guy did like a little sheet. It was for the North American and EU region. There was more spots available. But the guy said that after he did the math, if you were not at a certain point total, he had like the probability of you getting in. And it's literally the difference of games, not
Yeah.
just series, but the difference of game wins literally comes down to the narrowest margin. So a lot of people are complaining about that, the point system and then the fact that you don't qualify. But I personally think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It sucks for the bubble teams that don't make it, but work harder. You only got one chance. You're gonna have to ball out. Like and the fact that people didn't see that and are complaining about it, it's
Yeah, they're complaining about the wrong things because that again goes on psionics, and they need to have more support for that part of the community. Is like the teams that are not quite there, but they're really close. And it's like, well, what are they supposed to do from this weekend up until January?
fine.
Like just play in the weeklies and monthlies that there's not going to be higher competition. Like, and everybody knows like those top 16 teams are only scrimming each other. They're not scrimming anything outside of those top 16.
Well, not my problem. We're in Sam. So no, I'm being serious. Like that's what I don't understand. I had a little bit of discourse with someone. I'm sure if people scroll through my Twitter, they'd probably see the replies. It was a short little spat. But they were complaining about how like what are we supposed to do for the next until January? And then I was like, this isn't Psionic's problem. Yeah, they need to fix it, but I just told you what you could do. I was like, just go to another region. Like, yeah, but it doesn't help the fact that, there's no tournaments going on. And I was just, I was like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, I just go to another region. There's teams where that money makes sense. He threw a figure of like $1,500 a month per player. It's ridiculous. They're not playing. They're not making any money. Go somewhere else. The bubble scene didn't make us any money, so we left
Yeah.
because there's no value in it. There's nothing going on. If Psyonix doesn't want to fix that, I'm not in the process of, you know, I want to help these players, get better, get out of the bubble, but at the same time, the my job is, you know, let's not make dumb decisions. Let's not just burn $1,500 a month per player on something that's not getting us any value back. There's no tournaments, there's no eyes on us, anything. Let's go to a region that makes it onto the RLCS page and is playing in front of thousands of people watching and can come watch our stream and let's do that for the same amount of money. Makes more sense. So
Yeah.
that was my little spat rant over. we were just on the updates. Scooter, you said it was only gonna be like a 20-minute episode.
I know.
We filled it up a little bit. Let's get into the topics though. Enough of the ranting
Yeah, I
and
mean,
raving, the hooting and hollering.
yeah, you definitely. I mean, speaking of esports money though and stuff, big one in the news is going to be Simple re-signing with Navi. This is definitely more up my alley. Counter Strike is my main game, and I mean, it's kind of interesting to me because this is obviously Simple has re-signed with Navi a few times now. And clearly, I don't know. I've heard a lot of things in the scene of CSGO, whether it's, he just believes in Navi more than any other team, which rightfully so. They've had good results, but they've definitely been a bit of a seesaw when it comes to results. And I've also heard it's a lot to do with that he doesn't want to leave the country. He obviously knows that he has better, or he could have better options as the best player in the world. To either go to North America or go to FaZe on their super team, but it's I think it's probably a mix of both, but that's got to be big money because like Simple's obviously a smart guy, and I think Navi just every time they know what they have and they're dropping the bank to keep him.
Do you think he just secured his retirement? Because like in traditional sports, a lot of teams will stay, or a lot of players will stay, with the team that has accepted them the most, just to kind of like secure that, have the good send off of like, I know this team's gonna take care of me. I could probably make more money elsewhere, but I know my career is coming to an end, and I should probably just secure my future in a way. Do you think
Yeah,
that's what it was?
I imagine it's a little bit of that, and I also think, like I said, he's been with Navi for a long time now. That I also think if he says jump, Navi jumps, and if he says drop everybody else bar me, they probably would. So I think he has a lot of pulling power when it comes to the actual roster. As for like pure money, I think he probably made his retirement a long time ago. Like,
Yeah.
because Navi, especially the year that he was like the best player, and there was a lot of good players. I think Navi had probably been given the choice to sell him, or he'd probably been given a lot of offers. But he's clearly dedicated to Navi as well. So it's a bit of a two-way street for them. But I think it's crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was thinking like when it comes to we talk all the time off camera about the lack of loyalty in esports. It's just literally, you know, dollar values change a little bit and someone completely jumps ship and goes to a rival team or whatever. It happens like that in sports, but not as often. More people will stick to the people that gave them a chance, the people that gave them a shot, etc. Um, so it is weird because he's been with Navi almost the entire time he's been professional.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think he's been on here. I mean, I'll pull up his Wikipedia.
Other than
page.
like probably like teams that he started like when he was just getting into it, but once he got to the big show.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like let me here. You guys can keep chatting about that a little bit. I'm just gonna quickly pull up his Counter-Strike page, on Wikipedia, and so yeah, like he played for a bunch of random teams.
I don't even want to know.
Hey, what's his earnings? Earnings check. Dude. Earnings check.
Well, see, this is so I actually had this conversation with a friend offline the other day, and we were looking at like who's the biggest in Canada and who's like who's made the most money in North America and who's made the most money. Period. And Counter-Strike players are not up there. Counter-Strike has still to this day had a horrible prize pool. Simple has only made 1.7. Okay, still it's a good for prize pool. But I mean, considering he's the best player in the world and has been playing for the past 9 years.
Question.
What's that?
Because I don't pay attention to CS:GO as much. Why is the prize pool? Because because the game is considered tier 1. I mean, didn't it have 1 million people watching one of the majors?
Yeah, I mean, every major that happens, it breaks some form of Twitch record or YouTube record.
So why are the prize pools so low when they know they have that amount of eyes? Why do people still keep why do players still keep playing when the prize pools are that low? So the salary's worth it? Is the viewership worth it to the orgs?
So there's there's two problems, one answer essentially. The first problem is the game is about counter-terrorists and terrorists. That is instantly a no-go for a lot of sponsors. There's a lot of sponsors out there, and I won't say them publicly, but I know who they are, that will not go near Counter-Strike with a 10-foot pole. The other problem is Valve doesn't seem to care as much about CSGO. They know it will do its thing, and it will continue to do its thing. I mean, look at Dota. They always had crowdfunding. CSGO has never seen crowdfunding once. And I genuinely think if Valve introduced some form of crowdfunding in the terms of stickers or cases or whatever it may be, Counter-Strike may have the biggest prize pool in the world because so many people watch Counter-Strike. And the solution is exactly what you touched on. It's salaries. I can say this publicly that I know even tier 2 players that are like bridging on tier 1 are looking for somewhere close to between 4 to 8k for that kind of border, and most tier 1 players want anywhere from 9k and above, and the really good players get around 30k a month. So Counter-Strike,
that's a lot.
Yeah, and that's the problem why you don't see a lot of new orgs getting into Counter-Strike, is because they just can't afford a tier 1 team, and rightfully so, because if you don't have sponsors that are dedicated for your CS:GO team, I mean, if every player plus coach was taking 30k a month, then that's 30k times 6, so you're going to be 180k. Yeah,
A month.
a month for a tier 1 CS:GO roster.
Oh,
Now that is
Jesus.
the 30K for sure is on the higher end. Like that's a team that's constantly making majors and stuff and like constantly winning events. So like, but even at like 10K a player for a good NA team, you're gonna hurt. Like that's a lot of money gone
Ow,
into
just
one
listen
team.
to it. Ow.
But I mean, that's
Should have gotten good at Counter Strike.
yeah,
Yeah.
same. I gave up and went the caster route. But that's silly
I
me.
played Counter Strike in a horse match one time. That shit was difficult.
But
Shit was hard.
that
I can only see through the nose.
crazy is one thing, but like crazy on a bit of more of an IRL side of things. Noobsie sent this to us the other day, and it is kind of crazy. Noobsie, you wanna?
Okay, so AI is pretty cool. However, human brains are still better. And I like so to give you the headline, brain cells in a lab dish on a computer chip were able to learn how to play Pong. So they took 800,000 human brain cells, put it on a computer chip, introduced it to different scenarios of the ball starting in different places. And over the course of, I think, a few months, the brain cells were able to work with the computer chip and figure out how to play Pong, and the rallies got stronger. The reason why they're testing this is because AI is great, AI is cool. However, what they compared it to was that a human, you can get AI and a human to make tea. If you have the ingredients, you teach them how to make it, they can make tea. If you take the AI to another person's house and give them the same ingredients, you have to completely reintroduce the environment to them because it's new to them. Whereas with the human brain, they still know how to make tea no matter whose house you're in. You give them all the same equipment and they know how to make it. So they're trying to infuse human connections of the brain, because our brain is very powerful, to kind of like coincide it with computer chips to help enhance AI technology and other stuff. Thought it was crazy. I did not think it was real when I read it. And then as I kept reading it, NPR posted it. So I was like, all right, this has got to be legit. And they were saying the rallies would start and they would kind of punish it in a way. So when it would mess up, they would start the ball in a different location to get it to learn something new. So they realized that was making it learn faster. So even when it was doing well with the rallies, they would still start it in a new location.
Yeah,
So
that
kind
is
of just
crazy.
insane that we're doing shit like this. So I mean, it's just
one of those things that it's like, first of all, it's such a crazy experiment to begin with. Like even if it failed, like it's one of those things that's like whoever thought of this was like actually mental.
well,
Yeah.
and it's funny because they also did this with mouse brain cells too. And while the rallies did get longer and longer, they weren't like insanely good at. They were not trying to get it to become the best Pong player. They were trying to see what brain cells would do to the learning aspect of it. So they realized that while they weren't, godly Pong players, human brain cells performed much, 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 much better than mouse brain cells. All to keep in mind, the amount of 800,000 brain cells is just about the size of a cockroach brain, and it's able to learn a completely new environment. So, kind of crazy to see how smart
Yeah.
just the human brain is, because that is really tiny. It was on a computer chip that was very small. I don't know how they got it to connect to the computer chip, but it was like woven in some way.
So
They were
you
able to connect neurons to the electrical components. I don't know. I don't know that part. I just know they put human brain cells on a computer chip and were able to teach it something crazy.
so you
Yeah, I
want
just
to?
want to.
Oh, go ahead.
I
Yeah.
want to. I want to take a step. Like I want to be a fly on the wall in that boardroom when that idea was proposed. Like
Dude,
they've
it'd be
because
sick as
that
fuck.
had to have been stupid expensive.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
like
100%.
wildly
But I
expensive.
do think that application is kind of so I just read what college did it. It was Georgia Tech. That's one of the smartest schools in the South. But
Okay,
they're
let's preface
just
that with the South. Let's make sure
but
we emphasize.
okay. Yeah, but Georgia Tech is one of the leading
I
schools in
know, I'm
engineering.
joking.
So,
I'm joking.
however, it makes sense why this idea was so crazy. Because yes, these are some of the smartest nerds in the country, but they're in the South, so they got a little bit of that backwoods in them. So they're like, it'd be sick if we just put some brains on a pure chip, pong, man.
Well, speaking, Noobsie, you had mentioned the, tiny brains on the motherboard and stuff. There's another thing in the news about with tiny brains, and
Look at these segues
that's
are legit.
I know
dude.
this is this is gonna be about HCS. Whoever's running their esports, choices. Didn't think this one very hard and very thoroughly because they have upset a lot of people. In the news this week, or I guess technically last week. Halo crowdfunding. Obviously, crowdfunding. We just spoke about it too with the Dota CS:GO. Halo have decided to pull the rug on their Halo crowdfunding, and not only is it a bad thing to get rid of crowdfunding, it usually doesn't sit well with the community. But it's another thing to pull it away a week before the main event where that crowdfunding would have been used, because they had upped the prize pool. So to any tournament organizers or anything, if you somehow fund enough money to make a tournament with an even bigger prize pool than you initially expected, don't take away crowdfunding, because you're just gonna look like an asshole trying to keep more money. And it's like, if you've already agreed crowdfunding, you cannot pull it away at the last second.
They are
Yeah.
just taking a knife into their esport and twisting it.
Yeah, it's every
it's
every
just-
time I see Halo news, I don't think I've ever seen good Halo news since like the
Week
game
one.
Released.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
The
no, like
esports
I saw Snipe Down's tweet. Shout out fellow Hoosier. Uh, he literally tweeted out. He said, "Why the fuck did I leave Apex Legends?" Because I think at the time, like, I'm pretty sure he was playing for FaZe, and then he kickstarted FaZe's Halo team, if I'm not fully mistaken. I think that's how it went. And so obviously playing for FaZe on arguably like the biggest battle royale at the moment, like one of the most popular, like at least in the US, I think. To make that switch is a very big jump. And then to continue to have the organizers and developers just not follow through on promises, cut the prize pool significantly. Like that could like really kill his career, because trying to transition back to Apex, he's obviously not going to be at the level he was, so he's going to have to do a ton of work to even hope to get to where he was.
Viewer base on Twitch, like, it's like people don't think about outside of it a lot, but like that's if he's primarily currently streaming Halo and has an audience and subs based off of Halo. I know he has Apex fans too, but like, it's hard to transition a fan base.
I think like something like that, with how much bad news Halo's gotten, could you imagine if they had like crowdfunded $1 million prize pool?
Well, and that's people's problem, because normally the prize pool would
That
get
could
to like
have
500K.
Well, that could have like obviously a million's a lot of money, but people still want to watch Halo because they want it to where I think that's what's kind of crazy why the game hasn't, like, obviously the game is not being played as much as they thought, but it has that ability to come back if they literally just start putting more effort into the community. The game shoots right back up to popularity. I really think that would happen, because all they have to do is start showing effort. They haven't, because Halo's one of those games that if they just start coming back into it, doing everything, then completely pull a 180, the game's gonna go back up, because everyone wants it to succeed.
Yeah, and that's
even like I didn't grow up playing it, but I saw all the tournaments and stuff, and I watched Red versus Blue on Rooster Teeth and shit. So it's like I had that Halo experience in a way, because I mean I grew up on PlayStation and stuff, but I would play Halo at my buddy's house. So I want the game to do well because it's been a part of my childhood, maybe more for other people.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
that's
They're just
so good.
killing this game, and it sucks because it's a fun game, and I think there's a market for the esports there, and for them to crowdfund that much money, did they say how much it got to, or
I don't think so because
Not that I saw.
they pulled the rug. Like,
that's so
but like
dumb.
you said though,
Because
like
that could have revitalized it, seriously.
that's one of those games where like you said, everybody, regardless if you were PlayStation, PC, or Xbox or whatever, or even a Wii kid or some shit, like, or like you knew Halo existed regardless of where you came from, and you also had a love for it for some extent. Sure, there's people that don't like Halo. Like, there is some people that just genuinely don't care for it. But I'd say a lot of people at least respect Halo or know Halo or have at least played like couch co-op Halo 3 or something. Like, and same here. Like, I don't really care for Halo esports, but I want to see it do well. And if it does really well, where the prize pools are massive, I would watch. I mean, it's one thing to watch a game you're not so familiar with, but it's even different when the prize pool is big because you're like, there's a lot on the line, and I have enough of an understanding to enjoy this. But if they're playing for like 10 grand, it's like Melee. I don't enjoy watching Melee, but I love Melee. Like Super Smash Bros.
The games don't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's
That's
hard
why
to
Worlds
watch.
is so cool at RLCS.
Yeah,
it's
and
$2 million and a giant trophy.
It's hard to watch for games like Super Smash Bros. Because you enjoy it so badly, but it's like there's not a whole lot on the line, and even the players, I would rather support the players by watching their stream instead of watching the mainstream. Because look at I think it was Mango, maybe a couple of months ago, he came like third in a tournament and got like $75. Like, dude, there's no world.
And he's
there's no
like
world.
one of the biggest players. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
much about Smash, but I do know that like he plays for C9, right?
Yeah. So he plays
Yeah,
for C9.
that's absurd.
And there's no world in any esports that a third place should be giving you $75. I don't even care what tournament. Even locals don't pay that little usually. Like bigger locals. I mean, like obviously cafe
2 weeks
locals.
ago, he won a Blockbuster gift card.
Oh man. But
Yeah,
well,
no,
sorry, Jake, you got a last input because I think we're gonna just wrap up early.
I was just gonna say, it's like we've said this about Call of Duty before. Like, we all growed up playing Call of Duty. Like, everybody loved playing their games, but
Comes out next week.
obviously their esport is much larger scale than Halo. But it's like they just need a little bit of a Kickstarter,
Yeah.
a little bit more effort in. Halo put any effort in, just like any little bit.
0. Dude, they literally released the game and said,
It's like the two most like iconic games in history. Like, everybody knows Call of Duty and Halo. Like, I don't know a single person that would be like, "What's Call of Duty? What's Halo?"
Yeah.
Like,
and
there's no reason they should be.
It's one of those
struggling.
things that we just wouldn't want to see go either. But I don't know. I mean, one thing we definitely don't want to see go, but we are gonna have to see go, is the end of this podcast. We are ending for this week. We'll be back next week. And any closing words from you guys?
at the time of this podcast, the Atlanta Gladiators.
All right, and on that note, we are going to see you after office hours.
Gertler's going to score like 5 goals, dude. Check it tomorrow. Gertler scoring 5.
All right, peace.
Later.
Peace out.